weather. I really appreciate it. And our presentation is going to be about Little Women, a novel by Louisa May Alcott.
This book is so boring. Why do I even bother?
Why bother reading it? I will tell you right now. Little Women has a historical significance because of four major ideas. One, the role of women in the 19th century. As maybe you know, the women during that time, they were only prepared to be good housewives and to run the household. And mother has to pass this knowledge to her daughters. Also because in this time there were philosophical and social reforms. Women started to join evangelical societies, and then they were the majority of the abolitionist groups. And these groups will lead later to the women's rights movement that was really important for us. Also, education. Education was really limited during that time, and most people educate their kids at home. And some others, if they can afford it, they pay tutors, as we can see in this book with Laurie. Also, punishment and discipline was very common. You can see in the novel that Amy was hit in her hands because he was caught with limes at school. And also Civil War, because this novel was based during Civil War, and Mr. Marsh, the father of these girls, he was fighting in the Civil War. So family has to struggle to support themselves, and women have to take over larger roles since there weren't men available to be on those jobs, so women had to replace them.
Okay, I get it.
Do you even understand what the story is about?
I do. Do you want me to give you a little summary of the book?
Of course, go ahead. No, please, stop!
Who are you?
She's Louisa May Alcott. She's the author of this masterpiece.
This one?
Yes. Of course I am, dear. But before you give away the summary, please let me introduce the characters because it is so important for you to know them. Okay? First, we have Jo March. She is the second old sister, and she is a very independent woman. The character is actually based on my own life. So the story is semi-autobiographical. Jo has a temper and a quick tongue, but she often tries to battle this. She finds a really good friendship in Laurie, her next door neighbor. Then we have Meg March. Her real name was Margaret. She is the oldest sister. She tries to battle with her weakness towards luxury and money, because she ends up marrying a poor guy, a poor man. She has twins when she marries this man, and she is a hopeless romantic. She often forgets who she is because she tries to please others. So, for example, she will tell her cousin that she likes politics because he does, and she forgets all this luxury and all her love for money and being rich because he is poor. Then we have Beth. Beth is the third sister, and she is really sweet and quiet. She almost seems too angelic to live in the world that I created, which is a fictional but realistic world. So she ends up dying. Beth is really close to Jo because they both have these antisocial tendencies. Jo is really outgoing and Beth is really shy, is really quiet, so they both are really apart from society. And Amy is the youngest sister. She is very ambitious, and it's what I call a perfect beauty. She is an artistic beauty because she always gets what she wants, and she always acts, she knows how to act to certain situations, unlike her sister Jo. She, at the end, gets everything she wants, she gets famous, she earns a trip to Europe, and she gets Lori. And finally, you have Theodore Lawrence, or Lori. He is this neighbor of the girls, and he is attractive, he is smart, and he really cares a lot about them. He is really wealthy and becomes really close to Joe. They are very similar, but they do not end up together, and he ends up with Amy.
So now I can...
Yeah, sure, if you want to.
Okay. So, Little Women. Little Women talks about the life of the sisters, the March sisters. We have Joe, Meg, Amy, and Beth. And they are a family with financial problems. So we got the father, who's fighting a war, gets ill. And Joe decides to set up her beautiful long hair in order to help her mother travel to see their father. While their mother is away, Beth gets scarlet fever and eventually dies. And then Meg marries, and Joe travels to New York, and Amy travels to Paris, and Lori ends up marrying Amy. But Joe meets a new man, this Professor Bohr, and they marry, and they establish a new school for orphan boys. In the end, the sisters reunite, and they talk about their lives and how happy they are now. And that's it.
And how do you know this story so well if you haven't finished the book?
The internet?
Inter what?
Well, you see...
No, do not waste time explaining that here. No. Yes, please don't. I'm really interested in knowing that you know more about Miss Alcott's life.
Well, I do know a little bit about her. For example, I read on Wikipedia that Louisa May Alcott was this, I don't know, American novelist, and her father was an abolitionist, and he didn't provide for the family. So Louisa had to be a nurse and a teacher and also a housemaid to help her family. With the publication of Little Women, he became this really public person, really famous. And it was inspired on her own experiences, her relationship with her sisters, and also their journey to womanhood. But even though she now was very rich and famous, she still had problems with her family.
Did you also know that Little Women is actually part of a trilogy?
No.
It is the first book. Then, in 1871, I published Little Men. And after that, in 1886, I published Joe's Boys. I also want you to know that I never got married, because I never felt that romance was really a part of my life. But I was really devoted to my family. I was so close to my sisters. But so I was really devastated when one of them died, little after giving birth. But I moved on, and I actually took care of the children of a widowed sister, and took care also of the child my dead sister left. In the end, I must tell you that I died. In March 1888 in Boston, and I was buried in the Sleepy Hollow. Miss Alcott, I am a big fan of yours. I admire your work so much. Your book is so profound. Did you notice that one of the main themes was women and femininity? And it was really related with gender stereotypes. For example, in this book, it's really clear the place of women in society. They also depict different interpretations of femininity and also how women integrate society. You can see that all the different sisters have a really rich role in society. And about the gender stereotypes, you can see, for example, that Joe wants to be called by a kind of male name, and Lori is more a feminine name. So you can see that they try to change the stereotype. Also, the home was really important for them, because home was also a moral center for men and women, and also the basic unit of a stable society, because they believe that all bad people, all that was wrong in society, came from an unstable home.
I'm really glad you noticed that. But did you also notice that love is also a theme in my works? Love is present everywhere in Little Women, whether it is romantic love or love among the family, whether it is from parent to child or between the sisters among themselves. Love has a power that can cure almost everything. It can sweeten almost every sour situation. Also, we have sacrifice. Sacrifice is seen as a part of every ethical behavior, whether it is a big sacrifice or a small sacrifice. We often see that these women sacrifice their love for money, they sacrifice their happiness, they sacrifice every comfort they have in favor of keeping the family together. And also ambition. Ambition is present also in the story because almost everyone in the story are ambitious, whether they want to be famous, they want to be rich, or they want to just have a good time and travel around the world. So they have to see how to subordinate this ambition for duty, because sometimes, as mentioned before, we also have these sacrifices that need to be made.
Well, I did sense that you try to explore the principles all the time. Because you mention, well, you don't mention, but you give hints of Protestant Christianity with morality, connected with hard work, with self-improvement, and this new American identity. But we also get the literature. We also get literature that is really important because we have the poets, and we have the authors, and we have the writers, and we have Job. And they give this kind of source of wisdom and interest to the other characters. And they are good to kind of connect the romantic ideas with their social life.
Can I say that I'm really impressed by your work?
Of course.
I would like to point out some very interesting literary devices that we can find in your work. For example, you can see here, imaginary, you can picture everything that you said. For example, the four sisters sat knitting away in the twilight, while the December snow fell quietly without and the fire crackled cheerfully within. And you are so smart that even inside that imaginary, you can find personification. In the fire crackled cheerfully within. Fire cannot crack cheerfully, we all know that. Also, we can find a metaphor when you express how was Joe. Joe was very tall, thin, and reminded of a colt. Do you know what a colt is?
No.
No? No, you know. A colt is a male horse, a very young male horse. Yeah. For she seems to know she never seems to know what to do with her long limbs. We were very much in her way. And you can also find a simile. A quiet breeze mile went round like a streak of sunshine. And finally, you can find allusion. As you said, religion was really present here. You can find that loving a neighbor better than ourselves, and I like it. And that's a part of the Bible when it says, love your neighbor as yourself.
But it's so late, but thank you really much. And I promise that tomorrow I will start all over again. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you for getting interested in my work.
And thank you, all of you, for listening to us.